Hi everyone. I mentioned at the end of part 1 of Garminungeena's chat with me that I would split the talk up into 3 parts for more comfortable listening. As it turned out, the episode broke down quite naturally into 4 parts instead of 3. This here is part 2 of Garminungeena's episode. As this part 2 is an immediate follow-on from part 1, it starts rather abruptly, so I apologise for that, but I hope you enjoy part 2 and stay tuned for parts 3 and 4, which I will upload very soon. I understand what you're saying about its time, because I've been coming up to Nungeena for a good few years now, helping out. And for those people who are listening, which is everyone else except you and I, it's a 6-hectare place, and it's beautiful. It's right in the hinterland of the Sunshine Coast. It's in the Glasshouse Mountains area, and it's right beside Mount Beerwah. There's so much potential up here. Everyone who comes up here feels something. But it takes time, and I've had to learn patience. And I learn a different way of learning, actually, which isn't like drip feeding, but it's just a more natural way of learning.
Yeah, that's right, it is. And it's like you might be given something, and then, you go away, and then something happens, and then you say, oh. And I'm so thankful that, we, as the 6 women, we were able to come up here and see the sacredness of the place and know it. And there was a whole lot of stuff that was going on before that, and particularly it was around what men were doing, It was Japanese men that really let the world know, or so much the developed people, like in the Gold Coast, of the sacredness of it. And I'm sure the local people of Sunshine Coast around here knew of the sacredness of it. But they didn't know what, and they didn't know how to access it. Yeah. And it's that sort of thing. But it's like, this is what we have to do now, is to get this word out, that all this is a family. And when I tell people that, people say, oh, they love it. And then there's a sacredness of each of the mountains, in particular the significant ones, which is Tibbergarg, Cookneck and Beerwah. Yeah.
Just going back to when you're talking about the Japanese, or just for the listeners, I'll clarify that when you're looking at acquiring this land up here in the Glasshouse Mountains in 1992, I think you finally did. And at the same time, there was a Japanese group, and I think I was told they wanted it for something like their Aikido, martial arts, something like that.
Something spiritual.
Yeah,
but I was reading and in some of the documents and things I've been reading lately, because in 92 I was one of the 6 women that came up here. And the man that was here, he had a restaurant, and he had it was a yabby farm, so he had a restaurant. And when we walked in on him, he got a fright. He just said, I just read my cards of 6 Aboriginal women coming. Now, yes, we were told then that the Japanese had come up here, saw the sacredness of, which probably not even the Aboriginal people within the area would have felt the sacredness, because a lot of that over time has been lost. But so they felt, and they had the idea, because of the spiritual aspect of it.
Beautiful.
And so he told us that they had put 20,000 deposit down on it. And he said, what'll I do? Now, I've read recently in the documents and things that I've been, pieces of paper that I've been picking up, that it was the Gold Coast Council, or developers from the Gold Coast, who introduced the Japanese to here. Okay. I think the council of the day from up here, the Sunshine Coast, whatever that was, whether it was in Cloundra or wherever it was, they were very in tune into the sacredness, what they knew that this was. They knew the story from the people of this area.
Okay. Yeah.
And so then when this happened, they were reluctant to agree to, in a sense, that development.
Yep.
But, things were drawn up. But anyway, it was easy. Once us women came, they were more or less holding it. And as soon as we came up, everything's opened up. I mean, we got the money for this place within a couple of months.
Right, yeah.
But the Japanese stepped back because they knew of the sacredness. But then when they found out it was the woman's with Beerwah and it was around that, and it was the 6 women that sort of brought that out. So we weren't about, when we came up here, we weren't about building an empire, money or whatever it was. We were here to take back our women's place and within this area and do something, have a vision, the vision of having this women's place for healing and, So, 25 years later.
Yeah,
here we are.
Still going. Yeah. When you talk about you got some funding, that was, unfortunately, a few years back, a lot of that funding sort of dried up, and so you really need to.
At the time, at the time we had ATSIC.
Yeah.
And ATSIC was they were actually given the money by government and to set up a lot of organisations and things, which was happening in housing groups and everything. So there's a lot of things. And the other thing that ATSIC gave to us too as we were setting up this place was on the business side. They used to come up and help, pay for that, pay for a governance training. They paid for a lot of things because we were all green going into it.
Yeah.
And so they helped us with that. But we as women, where we are today, we're looking at more because of that we have to form or go into more like like what we're saying now. We are the core, not the corporation. We are the core. The women are the core of this country.
Okay.
Here.
Yep.
Using words like that, and that gives us. It's like we had this time where we were dependent on ATSIC, the money come through, and the council has always been very good here, giving money, so that was how it functioned.
Yep.
But there did come a part time there when, when we, I've just recently looked at things and I saw it starting to go down in 2011. So whatever was occurring in that time, which I don't really want to talk about, I'm aware of, but I know there's a lot of beautiful work done, and I do know that in that time those other, like the one strong founding member who was the one who approached me had passed, he died, and so it was the daughters and her sisters and all those that came and stood strong together
and kept the place going
and kept it going. And they were all community people.
Yeah,
they were people that were they were grassroots people that were placed into those positions,
and they could see the importance of this place.
And so while I remember Auntie Mary Graham, she'd never been up here before. She actually came up. Last year we had the Seven Sister Dreaming up here, Durin it was called, and we had the group of women up here, and she came and she said she'd never been up here, but she was on ATSIC at the time.
Right.
Yeah. So, finding out that, there were a couple of women there and how hard it was to even get through because there's some men in there that, just didn't understand. But
yeah. When you say this is a women's place, and I know this, but down by the dam, there's a couple of dams down there, one bigger and one smaller, but there's at least one birthing tree still there, isn't there? It's a birthing area.
Yeah, well, it's a birthing area. There's one tree, and the birthing. It was said that people come through here and stopped a birth on the land. The significant part of that is that we would have in times. It was our afterbirth that would have been placed near a tree.
Right, the placenta.
That's what, the placenta. That is what a birthing tree is about. Mm-hmm. So you would have birthed near it and you would have, put it near a tree. I remember my grandmother telling me about those things too. Mm. And so in 93, I believe, there was a fire that went through here. Yeah. And so things were burnt. But out of that, because the Nungeena, the corporation, with the help of ATSIC and everything, they had their all insurance policies. Everything was in place. Yep. And so we're able to rebuild. Yep. And keep it going. And so, but the trees, the big old trees that possibly that they would have dated back hundreds of years ago, some of them just were burnt or they collapsed. But those trees are still lying around down in that area
Yep.
where we consider as the birthing. But
Yep.
I don't believe it would have happened everywhere, although you've said two things. There's actually three.
Oh, is it? Okay.
There's three, and they are all natural.
Spring, underground.
Underground water.
Yep.
The one that's the big, they said it's a dam, it was big. It could be mud, but it wasn't. There was water, and he used to pump the water up out of there into a tank to have his yabby farm.
Yeah, that's...
But all those three things, and then the flowing of the mountain water of Beerwah, it goes down into a creek. So when you go down a bit further, and, like the water is just amazing.
I know, they actually bottle it, I think, but it's pure, absolutely.
We're actually looking into that.
Yeah.
And what would we do with it, Yeah, we could commercialise it, but we're not about that. I think what we're doing today is what was meant to be done over the years was used as a healing place.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not just for women.
Oh, okay.
It's women's business.
Yeah.
We have a birthing place, and we acknowledge that.
And that's a sacred
and the
part.
sacred and the bear. But the whole place is, but it is a family because the Beerwah is part of a family. So it's family who can come up here. Hence, we're setting up family healing weekends.
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because anything, anywhere, it doesn't matter which society or culture, women's business is family, isn't it?
Well, that's right. It is. That's women's business.
We're the nurturers, yeah.
We're the nurturers. We're the ones that bring up our children to a certain age, and the girls go with the aunties and the boys go with the uncles or whatever. Those are our customs. Those are the things. That's the way I was brought up.
Yeah.
And so you'll find everywhere, all of us, we're all doing a similar sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. When you say that this area is family, do you want to just give us a bit of an overview about, the story of the Glasshouse Mountains?
We know the story. I don't know, the listeners probably don't, but
No.
the story, and it is written. I was very pleased to see that down at the Glasshouse Mountains, at the little village there, you can go into the information place and get a little story.
Yeah.
And I went into the news agent, and they had, they're so proud of this place, you can get it. So the story is that, as I know it, as I was told, that Tibbergargan was the father, and it goes back thousands of years, so they were actually human beings, men and women. This is a lot of our dreaming stories that come out.
So this is a proper dreaming story.
This is a dreaming story, but it's a dream. These were people. Mm-hmm. And so he was looking out. Tibbergargan was the father, and he was looking out and over out to sea, and he was there was a movement in the waters, I guess, and he was watching for a tsunami or whatever was happening. And he turned around to his, possibly, I would think, a teenage son. Maybe he probably was an 18-year-old, I don't know. But and told him that because his mother was there, and who was Beerwah, and she would have been pregnant. But there were all these little mountains, and when you come here, you see all the little mountains. So they were just still there too. The father said to the son, "Go and have a look. Keep an eye on. I've just got to. This is all coming in, and move your mother and the children back further
because the waters are coming in, either for a tsunami or flood, or end of a last ice age or something.
Whenever, that was thousands of years.
Yeah.
And anyway, when he turned around, we call him Crookneck. I'm not sure what's his Coonerin. Coonerin, he was his name, and because he was there just playing or something, and Father Tibbergargan he was called out to him. He wasn't. The mother was somewhere, and he was angry with him. So he threw a boomerang. Somebody say a boomerang. Somebody say a club, and he hit him in the neck. So he's now when you see the mountain, you see the crookneck. We call it crookneck, and his head's on the one side, and so. But the other part of that story is that he tried to make up to his father, but his father's just so disgusted. So that's why he stands there when we see him today with his back.
Right.
His back to...
The father's back.
The father's back to Tibbergargan. His back is to the rest of the mountains, because where he stands is the first one you kick. But, if you look in Beautiful Drive coming through Roy's Road there.
Yep.
And you see it all anywhere, and it's like you go to Brisbane and coming out of the gateway, and you look and like this is just you go up to Maloney Way and you see it, and like, you see it all.
Yep.
And of course it's a family because it is a family.
Yeah.
And that's why we say like we need to open it up to families. And you know, in today's society with like we've had the stolen generation, but we see our you know a lot of families have been split through a lot of things.
Absolutely.
And we've got to open it up for healing of everybody so that we can
There's a great deal of healing that needs to happen everywhere, I think, across the planet and the planet itself, really. But so you also said that there was a reference to the Seven Sisters, and I've just shown you a book that I'd been down to a fantastic exhibition by the National Museum of Australia, and it was to do with the Seven Sisters songline that comes across, and it started off from right over in Western Australia, Roebourne, I think it was, to Western Australia, and it came across to, as the exhibition did anyway, it came across to Central Australia. But the map in the book, and that there was a big, and that was a picture of a big, painting that they had done down there at the exhibition, shows the Seven Sisters songline coming all the way out here, literally to southeast Queensland, to where we are.
Where we are, there. It's beautiful.
And when I come up to Nungeena, different times people have said that there's a songline that runs from here all the way to Uluru, and I was sort of blown away by that.
It does. And the thing is that we with songlines is that the Cubby people their songlines connect with the Kimberleys.
Oh, that's a long way for anyone listening who doesn't know, who's not in Australia.
Even go see that's where it'll be up here.
Up over the north of Western Australia, and the Cubby is southeast Queensland. So that's
we'll see.
Right
this
across
is the Cubbies there, and then the Waka, we know the Waka that's all in there, but. So these are the songlines, and the songlines, of course, there's a lot of customs and different practices that we do that are in this songline that we continue doing. And so the Seven Sisters, this being the Seven Sisters, and it does come out, and I just know around, because we're South Burnett Waka, but on the north, on the central Burnett Waka, going over there around Ban Springs, and if you look at the mountains in there, that people will say they're part of the Seven Sister Dreaming.
Right. Okay.
So it goes all in there.
When we talk about songlines, I think that was a term that was sort of given by Bruce Chatwin or somebody. It was a sort of an English term in the 1980s, but it seems to be sort of fairly accurate as to song cycles. What's the difference between a dreaming track and a songline? Is there any difference, or?
The dreaming track, I think there is a difference because we all have our own dreaming tracks. The songlines are the ones that connect us. And I remember because the songlines, there's animals and birds and everything that would connect in all that. We're all in there.
Yep.
I remember saying something once I was talking to Ernie Dingo, and I was telling him what I had just found out about the Kimberleys and how us Cubby people here in the Sunshine Coast and Cubby was connected to the Kimberleys, and they have the songlines. I'll go back to the dreaming in a minute.
Yep.
But and he said to me, wait until you connect with the rest of the world's songline.
Whoa, bring tears to my eyes nearly again.
Yeah, so when we talk about the one, our songlines, and that, it is blowing. I mean, I just, because I dream a lot. I dream, or when things have to come into me and I see them and I think, and so it does. It's like our connections. And when we think and people come, you come in. I don't know. That's just more me trying to get a hold of it. But then when a couple of years ago we had the NAIDOC, which was on songlines, and that was explained. It was the same sort of thing. How the songlines connect. I remember going down into Wurundjeri country in New South Wales, which is one of the biggest nations.
Yep.
And we went out to visit this old fella, and in his yard he had all these like clay or monument things of magpies.
Okay.
And I said, magpies. I said, that's part of our dreaming, our magpies is for us like the carpet, but it's also family.
Yep.
And he said to me, well, we're all on the same songline. So I said, so my understanding there's a magpies, like different animals from Kimberley's might be the same, so going with the birds.
Oh, right.
So there's a lot of delving into, isn't there? But it is fascinating. And then he said, but if you notice, the magpie down here is black on white.
Okay.
Or might be the other. But you go up your way, it's white on black.
Right. Have to have a look at that next time I travel around Australia.
Yeah, but it's not like this, just using the magpie.
Yeah.
There's a whole of different things, different magpies and different things, and they pop up. But they're all part of a songline.
That's so interesting.
You can distinguish it,
Every time I come up here and every time I speak to people, I just learn more and more, and then I have more and more questions, and it gets deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
Hi there, listeners. It certainly does get deeper and deeper. What I'm learning about songlines and the culture and philosophy of Australia's first inhabitants is taking me to places I would never have imagined. I hope you have really enjoyed part 2 of my amazing chat with Garminungeena, Jenny Thompson. In part 3, Garmi tells us the dreaming story of Nungeena, or Nungeena as I tend to say, and we talk about underground sacred waters, global ley lines, personal dreaming tracks, and how one can feel the spirit or sacredness of a place. Although still fairly rudimentary, the Songlines website and blog are nearly done, finally. I should be able to provide you with a link to them in the next part of Garmi's episode. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for parts 3 and 4 of Garminungeena's incredible chat with me about songlines and the importance of stories and songs in an oral culture.